In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. Today we're here with a very special guest, David Avrin, and he's here to talk to us today about his book, Visibility Marketing. So welcome to the show, David.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Hey, it's great to be here too with you. And gosh, you know, you are the go-to person and probably the most in-demand person on business marketing. And so I just had to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. You were nice to say. You know, it's been a great couple of years, and it almost doesn't even matter what's happening with the economy. You know, if you got great content, and there's always people who are entrepreneurial. There's always people who are out looking to build their business, to build their career. And as we like to say here in the office, and as I speak to audiences around the world, visibility wins. And so I travel the world, and I travel the country speaking to audiences and business owners and others about how do we raise our visibility in a really competitive marketplace. And so it's an exciting time with new book out and a lot of travel. It's a great time.
Well, I can see why, because, I mean, my goodness, I follow you on social media, and I just love everything you post, and it's really right on target. You know, for most of our listeners who might be, going, well, how can I get out there more, how can I be more visible? Because the things that used to work for me 5 or 10 years ago aren't working for me now.
Right.
What are some tips you can share with them?
You know, I think it's a great question because things have changed tremendously. You know, what's interesting is I don't know that people have changed, but our environment has changed. The marketplace has changed. The tactics that we have are amazing. I mean, you think of somebody, if you took somebody out of 40 years ago and put them in a deep sleep and woke, and they woke today, they wouldn't recognize the world. They wouldn't recognize how we interact and the exchange of information. So I think you're right in the fact that the things that were working 5 years ago don't work today. And I think there's a couple of things that really drive that. I think first and foremost is there's really this pervasive quality that we've never really seen in history before. For the first time ever, everybody's good. Everybody in business is good. Because if they weren't, honestly, they wouldn't survive. 30 years ago, you could survive. If you were really good at customer service, that might be good. Or if you had a really good quality product, but maybe you weren't so visible, people would, they would find you or discover you. Today, you have to be good at everything because if you aren't, you'll be outed very quickly. I think the internet drives a lot of this. You look at the instantaneous feedback, whether it's Yelp or TripAdvisor or Rotten Tomatoes or, any kind of online feedback. If you aren't good, the marketplace figures it out really, really quickly. And so those players tend to get weeded out. So when I get the question, is it, do you need to be, work harder, work smarter? And, of course, the answer is yes to everything. And I hear CEOs say this all the time. I speak to business owners and small businesses, and I hear them talking to their organizations. And they'll say, listen, people, at the end of the day, it's about quality. And I couldn't disagree more. I think at the beginning of the day, it's about quality. Quality is the entry fee. At the end of the day, it's about competitive advantage. So getting back to your question, what do they need to do is instead of promoting our competencies, right, our people and our customer service and our quality and our caring and all the things that everybody says, our great taste or our freshest ingredients, I think we need to focus on competitive advantages. What are we doing that nobody else is doing? In yesteryear, you could survive and thrive in many ways by promoting your great quality or your superior customer service. Today, everybody's got it. So what I do in the books that I write, my new book, Visibility Marketing, and the work that I do as I travel the world and speaking and consulting, is I help companies sort of do a deeper dive to discover and uncover and ferret out and promote the things that they're doing that nobody else is doing. What are the things that make them a better choice than the other good choices? And I think that's the key. And it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it well. But instead of focusing on your competencies, and getting the basics right. That, I think, is the entry fee. I think today you have to search for and discover, uncover, or create differentiation, competitive advantage.
Well, especially, I agree with you because, just in the beginning of, was it last year or the year before, how people would actually do searches for businesses or services completely changed. It went from, where they would go and look on Google to now they're doing social share where they'd see like places like Yelp, what people are saying
Absolutely.
about different organizations and then just go based on that.
Well, they're looking to avoid making a bad decision. And
Mm-hmm.
so they're relying on somebody else's misfortune in many cases, and which is a real difficult situation for small businesses because, you can't please everybody. And if somebody's not pleased and they go online, then how do you combat that? How do you go and save your reputation when somebody – and there's whole companies that exist, and all they do is to try and push bad information down. Mm-hmm. You can't get rid of it, but if you can flood it with positive information, good feedback can be really useful, but it can also be very, very damaging. It also gives power to competitors to spread false allegations. You only have to look to the presidential election or any elections, and both sides just have to destroy the other side. And there's that risk in business as well. Once again, it's a crazy time. It's a scary time. Everything goes online. I joke with audiences. I said, who's got teenagers? Right? I raise my hand. It's like, who's got teenagers? It's a scary time. Everything goes online. I'm like, I asked, I got 3 teens. Well, one in early 20s. And I'm like, is there anything that you don't share? They share everything. And it's this cynical view that, it's a little bit funny, but I talk to audiences and I say, do you know the difference? Do you know the difference between love and the internet? The internet is forever and ever and ever and it never goes away. So
nope.
we can lament that, or we can use it to our advantage. And that's where content marketing and this whole new realm of writing articles and posting videos and blogs and tweets and all of those things, it may seem intimidating to some, but it is incredibly powerful to raise your visibility. If you want people to find you, you have to be findable. The real key in business, in marketing, whether it's social media, traditional marketing, and it sounds simple, but it's the core of my new book, Visability Marketing. And it's the assertion that says, if you want people to be interested, you have to be interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's not about having a blog. It's not about being on social media. It's about being interesting on your blog and interesting on social media. Information is a dime a dozen. It's ubiquitous. Everybody's there. Everybody's got a website. The question is, are you doing something that's kind of interesting, or and it could be anything. It could be a proprietary technology. It can be a unique persona. It can be items or products that nobody else is offering. It can be being more visible in your more places or more trucks or brighter building. It can be anything, but it has to be something. Today, competency, you just blend in. You got to be doing something different and special. And for me, and for those of us who promote this kind of work, this is the fun part, right? This is the fun part, to think of some creative things or do a deep dive in your business and promote some things that make you special.
Well, and I know that you talk about the new normal in the marketplace. Can you share that with our listeners a little bit? Like, what does that even mean?
Well, the new normal, you heard a lot of people sort of coming out of this recent recession, and it was a brutal time for so many. And they talked about the new normal and the new, sort of a reset. And I sort of have my own new normal. And my new normal is you sort of look back during those difficult times about 7 or 8 years ago. Capital had dried up. Right? Nobody could get a loan for anything. The banks weren't lending. And construction stopped, and it was brutal on most industries. Those companies that were not strategic, those who didn't have some cash in the bank or see the opportunity for some unique partnerships or alliances or purchasing, other struggling companies who were going out of business, there was a lot of consolidation. Those who didn't make agonizingly painful cuts, streamlining their operation to survive, right? Those that didn't, they didn't survive. And so they were bought up. They went out of business. They were consolidated. And so the new normal, as we sort of emerge into where we are today, is a different landscape. The weak players are gone. The posers, they were discovered. They went out of business. The ones who weren't very smart with their finances were bought up or they're gone. So the new normal is a marketplace populated by great companies. Like arguably, it's never been like this in history. Everybody's good. And it doesn't mean that everybody's great, but everybody's good enough. Mm-hmm. And so the question that I pose is, don't tell me what makes you a good choice. Everybody's a good choice. The new normal is a marketplace populated by great choices for us, whether you're buying B2C or B2C. If you're consumers and you're looking for a TV, there's endless choices. If you're looking for fast food, there's endless choices. If you're looking for tires for your car, there's endless choices. And if you can't find them locally, you find them online. Not on your computer, in your pocket, on your phone. So the new normal is more products and services than ever before, more quality than ever before. So our challenge as business owners or professionals is don't promote what makes you good. Everybody's good. The challenge is to promote what makes you a better choice than the other great choices. And that's what I earn my living doing is helping audiences and business owners with my new book, Visibility Marketing. And I know it sounds like I'm plugging my book, but I'm in marketing.
That's okay. I'll plug it for you too, because I think every manager who has a team that reports to them should buy your book and give it to their team, because it makes that much of a difference, because you're 100% right on all this. I mean, the things we used to do before do not work for us now. So, it's like, how do you set yourself apart in a sea of salespeople? How do you set yourself apart when you've got, 100,000 other people doing the same job?
Right. Or selling the same product. Think about professional services. Think about people who are selling financial services or tax services or legal services or even out there selling replacement windows, right? What we want to do is sort of this verbal dump of what makes us great. And the reality is most companies are great and their products are great. But from the prospect's perspective, the person being sold, we sit there and go, okay, you're really great. Well, these guys are always also really great. And what happens when everybody's the same? I talk about, I call it the foremost dangerous words in business. And the foremost dangerous words in business are all things being equal. All things being equal, when everybody's good, everybody can deliver, we shop based on price. That's the definition of commodity. I tell business owners, I said, when I think what you do is essentially the same, and I always say don't quibble with me what essentially means. If essentially I can get what I get from you from someone else, I am hammering you on price. It's about price.
Without a doubt.
At that point, when people, now listen, I've heard speakers and authors and others say, if you do X and Y, price is no longer an issue. And honestly, pardon my language, that's complete crap. Price is always an issue, always. But provided you're priced competitively, then price isn't the issue. Provided you're in line, even if you're a premium product or service, if you're priced in line with other premiums, they can afford you or they can't. They can afford your competitor or they can't. The real challenge is to convince that person that you're a better choice. And like I said, it might be proximity. It might be a newer technology. It might be, just a better job of explaining how much better your life will be as a result. So, I couldn't agree with you more in terms of telling everybody to buy it for their teams. But that's what I talk about. That's what I talk about in the book. Is I set the stage at the beginning. It's very conversational. There's a lot of humor. But I set the stage as saying, listen, for the first time, everybody's good. How do you ferret out and discover or uncover or craft meaningful differentiation? And then, of course, how do you promote it? And so at the end of each chapter, there's a little exercise or something. It's not school, but it's saying, gather your team, pull out a piece of paper, and let's ask some tough questions. Let's pretend you were going to start a company today that directly competed against your current company. What would that company look like? Where are you vulnerable? Because we can get a little bit complacent. Not complacent that we're not working hard. Everybody's working hard. But complacent in terms of how we promote our business to our prospects. We spend a lot of time, and rightly so, on being really good at what we do. And I can't argue with that for a minute. Great service, great quality, great products, great delivery. But now the work has just started. Is how do we promote that? And so there's some fun exercises to do that. And what are the words you would use, and how would you compete against yourself? And as I said, where are some of those vulnerabilities? Because it's a scary time right now. As I say in sales, there is no prize for second place. You make the sale or you
They call
don't.
that first loser.
That's exactly right. I say the same thing, right? You get the gig or you don't. You make the sale or you don't. Second place is the first loser. Second place starves. First place eats. And I said there are people out there who are trying to steal your money. They're trying to take food out of your children's mouths and opportunities for college away from your kids. It's not personal. They're just trying to feed their kids and put their kids through college. It is a war. And the worst part, those competitors, most of them are very nice people. Wouldn't we love to hate our competitors? But they're not. They're good people. They're working hard. You may be good at what you do, but you have not created a cure for cancer that tastes like chocolate. You're not that good. If you're that good, you wouldn't have to market, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's good. And so the ones who are winning are the ones who are visible and with some things that are very memorable and different and special and unique.
So, David, I know that you do a lot of keynote speaking all over the country, all over the world. In regards to the topic of visibility marketing, what subtopic off of that do you find that you are speaking to groups the most about?
What's interesting is what I didn't expect. My bread and butter has always been audiences full of entrepreneurs, business owners. I'll do some corporate, but a lot of associations. Every profession has an annual meeting somewhere, and I'm the guy talking at lunch or in the morning. And I'm not a motivational speaker. I think anytime you build your business, it's motivating, but it's hard content. It really challenges my audience to think deeper. But what I didn't expect was the amount of requests I got from human resources and others of saying, what's everybody's role within an organization? Because marketing is not a department. It's not to suggest you don't have a marketing department, but it's every conversation every time. It's everybody in the organization understanding, why do people choose us, and what's your role in accounting or in manufacturing or in human resources or anywhere within the organization to help sort of be an ambassador for our brand. What do we do that makes us special, and what's everybody's role in personifying that, in exhibiting that? Every interaction, every time, you're from the front desk to the salespeople to the delivery people, and that's been really fun for me. And honestly, I think that's probably as close I get to motivational speaking. Is you see the audience and you help them recognize how important they are, how important everybody is to what we do, and that this isn't just the marketing is their department, but all the way up to the most senior executives of saying, how do we envision what we do, and how do we manifest it in every behavior within our organization?
And I think it's important to have those down-to-earth discussions. I mean, motivational speeches are great, and I love those. But at the same time, having something that is, really serious about how to take your business forward and how to move forward, especially when things have changed so much, I think is more important than something that sometimes can be a little bit of a rah-rah talk,
Yeah, well, you know what? I have great admiration for people who climb mountains, or people who have tragically lost limbs or won Olympic medals. And I think there's something inspiring about the journey they've had, and it's sort of that, if I've done this, then you can certainly do what you're doing. But that needs to be balanced. And I've got some very, very, very close friends in the speaking world who are in that realm. But I think you also have to balance that with some very strong business content. People need to walk out with specific enhanced strategies and tactics that they can immediately implement in their business. And as hardcore as some of this is, this to me is the fun part. It's crafting clever campaigns or engagement or the videos that we create, and those things that help you raise your visibility. And we practice what we preach here in the office with our team as well. Right now, if you go on YouTube, which of course is the second biggest search engine in the world behind Google, you go on YouTube and you type in marketing speaker, I come up number one. You type in best marketing speaker, I come up number one. It's not because I'm the best marketing speaker. It's not to say that I'm not. I'm just saying the internet doesn't judge. It's just because I have visibility, because I have content, because I record little videos.
I think you're pretty good at your speaking, so I'm just going to type that in there.
I appreciate that. What I'm saying is, the internet doesn't judge. It's algorithms, right?
Yeah.
Because I record videos and I do little marketing minutes, and you can look me up. Just look me up under David Avrin, Avrin, or look up marketing speaker on YouTube, and you'll see me there as well. But I have a ton of little videos everywhere I go. I just got back from London, and I just take a little selfie stick, and I'm like, "Hi, David Avrin, the visibility coach. I'm here in London. It's awesome." And I do a little message on marketing and how do you stand out, and whether I'm in Dubai or Buenos Aires or Johannesburg, it's interesting, right? And so it gets the views, and then when it gets the views, you're higher in the rankings. And for those of you listening right now, if the stuff you haven't delved into yet, you're falling behind because your competitors are doing it. If it's intimidating to you, the good news is you have a high-def camera on your phone. You know, we have your teenager show you how to edit something in iMovie, or hire somebody on one of these internet sites, overseas on Upwork or Fiverr, and play with this stuff. It's great fun because, once again, it's not just about being there. It's about being interesting there. And if you want people to be interested, you got to be interesting.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, David, I mean, we could spend all day talking and going over all this good stuff. I mean, you're just amazing, and I love having you on the show.
Well, very nice. Thank you.
We'll definitely have you on next year, which is only a few months away if you kind of look at this here. So, or a month away here. So, where can our listeners find you?
Absolutely. My website is visibilityinternational.com. And run out and buy Visibility Marketing. So I appreciate the opportunity to chat about this. Let's do it again soon.
I'm looking forward to that, David. Let's go ahead and pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. Today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited she's going to be spending this time with us. Author of On the Verge, Wake Up, Show Up, and Shine, Cara Bradley. So welcome to the show, Cara.
Thank you, Marianne. Great to be here.
Oh, so fabulous to have you here. Now, your book, I was very impressed with this book. It's really teaching people how to kind of tap into their power and to thrive in a different way that they probably didn't even think was possible.
Yeah, we have such incredible potential. I see it all the time as a teacher, and if we could just get underneath some of the junk that holds us back in our minds and our busyness, it's right there waiting for us. It's right there. So my passion as a teacher is just to help people experience themselves in a place where they're realizing their potential, even if it's for a few moments.
So your book, On the Verge, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I've been teaching for a long, long time, about 3 decades, all sorts of movement disciplines. I started out as a figure skater, and I started teaching rollerblading, and eventually ended up teaching yoga and meditation. So what's happened for me is that over the years and thousands of people, I've seen shifts in people in a matter of a half an hour of movement or breath or silence or stillness. And I'm so inspired to help people recognize that, we don't need all of the stuff that we think we need out there. It's a matter of glimpsing our aliveness and recognizing what we have right in front of our nose. And as a skater and an athlete myself, I've had some experiences where as an average runner or an average skater, I was able to glimpse my potential. And it's so interesting when that happens, because so often it's the most ordinary moments when we access our intelligence. It's not in these extraordinary situations as we so often think it should be.
Now, I know in your book you talk about embracing life fully, regardless of what's going on around us. So what if someone is working on being in that moment where they're on the verge? Maybe you can explain a little bit about that for our listeners.
Sure. Well, I had an experience when I was younger. I was a 19-year-old college track runner when I was running my last race, competitive race. And I had nothing to gain and nothing to lose. And I kind of just showed up for the race and let it rip in many ways. I had the race of my life. And I used that experience to really understand, what does it mean to show up fully for life, no matter what is happening. And what I've recognized over the years and years is that when we can be present, and we all know this, when we're present, we have access to intelligence and compassion, insight and intuition like we don't have when we're stuck in doubt or fear or comparing ourselves or judging. And so often there are such small things that we can do, like taking a few breaths, like moving our body or pausing in stillness, that helps us to shift beyond all the blocks and obstacles that hold us back in any given moment. And so it's all right here for us. And I'm sort of that cheerleader for people to say, listen, it's right here. To start looking at your life and noticing the moments during the day when you feel buzzed, when you feel alive, when you smell something or hear something or just glimpse beauty. These are all hints to what it feels like to be in our power, to be present.
And that's such a beautiful place to be in, is that present moment, not in the worry or self-doubt in regards to what has happened or will happen, and just kind of enjoying the gifts that the present moment has to bring us.
Yeah, and it's happening all the time. And see, we're not taught in our culture to recognize what it feels like to be present, or to be, I call it being fully alive. Because that's how we feel when we're present, whether it's a great situation or a really challenging situation. We still feel alive, really alive when we're present. And so if we can start to recognize we're already experiencing these moments of presence throughout the day, all over the place, there are these little glimpses when, when the world takes our breath away for a moment. And if we can start to become familiar with that, then through training and practice, we can start to sustain presence. And when we sustain presence, we shine. Like I say in my book, we shine.
That's just a very delicious place to be. Noticing everything around us. It really is, because it does activate all the senses when you're in that present moment.
Yeah, and I like to say we start to experience life in high definition. Instead of walking around in this muted or foggy, dulled fog of thoughts and to-do lists and information and conversations that really hold us back from experiencing our senses fully, from experiencing the world fully. When we're able to shift beyond our busy mind, as I call it, and just step into the moment as it is, we do feel like life is in high def. It's great. I want everyone to feel it.
Well, that is a good place to be. Now, what are some of the ways that we can challenge ourselves to live life on the verge?
So on the verge, so the verge simply is a metaphor to mean this moment. And when we're able to wake up and show up in this moment on the verge is when we truly access potential and intelligence. So the ways that we can do this, and we're doing it all the time, by the way, leaning into uncomfortable moments or uncertain moments, being okay with not knowing how things are going to turn out can shake us awake. It happens to us often. We're shook awake when we don't know the outcome of something. It's a really potent place to hang out in. That's one way. There are practices such as being kind to yourself by allowing yourself a little bit of airtime or space to fumble, to be less graceful than you'd like to be, to befriend yourself in a way that brings humor back into your life. This is another beautiful way of starting to cultivate presence, to get comfortable just being who you are in all of the awkward moments of life. In other words, not taking ourselves so darn seriously all the time. There are very practical ways to really show up for life, and I love to just explore them with people. It's one of my passions.
So you talk about practices that people can use to show up fully in their life. What are some of them that our listeners can use to start doing that today?
So the simplest thing is start to notice this moment. Notice what's happening right now. Every time you hear a bell, it's a great practice Thich Nhat Hanh has taught us. Every time you hear a bell, it can be a reminder to pause and be present, to open your eyes a little wider, your ears a little wider, and to notice what's going on around you or inside of you. So noticing this moment, another way of saying being mindful. We can practice noticing what's happening in our lives, and it makes us better at noticing. And when we start to notice more, we start to show up more for the conversation, for the beautiful sunset, for the challenging email that needs to be written. Notice, notice, notice. It's my mantra. Notice everything.
And in your book, you also talk about ways that, we can manage our energy and how we can do less and be more. Is that even possible?
Well, we all like to think we can multitask, but as research has shown, we can't multitask. We could just do one thing really fast and then another thing really fast, and we know now that it's quite inefficient to even try that. When we can start just showing up to be fully engaged in whatever it is we need to do right now, like me talking to you, if I can just, and I am just fully present for this conversation, it becomes more alive. We become more animated and engaged, and in so doing, we're able to pull out this genius that's in every single one of us. So by focusing and paying attention on purpose, which is the practice of mindfulness, by noticing what it is that we're called to do in this moment, it could be peeling the carrots or folding the laundry or driving or speaking to somebody. When we can just slow ourselves down and just show up fully, we do everything better. We're more efficient and more effective and happier, actually, in the long run.
What a fabulous, it all kind of just brings us back to a point where we can really operate from a point of being present in our lives, as opposed to worrying about the future, again, forgetting, in the future and the past, because that's kind of where people typically live.
Yeah, and you're so right about that, Marianne. We're all conditioned to be very, very busy. We're taught how to do, but we're not taught how to be.
Well, thank you so much, Cara, for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you, Marianne. I so appreciate being here with you.
We're going to pause here for a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. Our next guest is quite an individual. He's gone from All-American track star to amputee to 2016 Paralympic silver medalist. He is a keynote speaker and a go-to coach on overcoming adversity. So let's welcome to the show, John Register.
Marianne, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, what a joy it is to have you here, John. I was so excited. I've been following your journey on Twitter. I mean, of all things, social media is such a great outlet.
It is.
Yeah, and I'm seeing all this amazing work that you've been doing with the Olympic team.
Yeah, so I work with not only Olympians, but also what we just saw was the Paralympic Games that just were down in Rio de Janeiro that happened 2 weeks after. Now, Marianne, most people get these games confused with the Special Olympics, which were in Los Angeles last year. The Paralympic Games are for games with athletes with physical disabilities and visual impairments. So they compete on the grand scale of gold, silver, and bronze medals. Unlike the Special Olympics, which are participatory in nature, these games follow the parallel path of the Olympic Games. So Rio de Janeiro, it was amazing.
Oh, well, I was watching all the pictures go by of, the great athletes and what they're accomplishing, and you yourself are a silver medalist, from what I understand.
Yes. So I was a four-time All-American from the University of Arkansas, ran track for the Razorbacks, Go Hogs. We won this past weekend for Razorbacks over Ole Miss, so that's great. The second thing is I served in the Gulf War. So after college, I enlisted in the United States Army, was on my way to officer candidate school, and as well as the Gulf War, I was on the Army's world-class athlete program team. That allowed me to train for the Olympic Games. I went to 2 Olympic trials in 3 different events, 110-meter high hurdles, long jump, and the 400-meter hurdles. In 1994, I went across a hurdle. I dislocated my left knee, severed the artery behind the kneecap, and because of compartment syndrome, because of during surgery, as well as gangrene setting in, my left leg, it was decided it would be amputated above the knee. So that put me on a whole different path. And it got me on the path of Paralympics. I go into the story about the emotions behind that, but as I recovered through sport, I swam for physical therapy, made the Paralympic swim team in 1996, and went to Atlanta anyway as a 100-meter freestyler, and then I saw athletes competing with artificial legs. I had one made for running, and 4 years later, I was on the Paralympic team that went to Sydney, Australia, and won the silver medal, becoming the only American jump over 17 feet without a leg or a knee.
Well, and I know that you broke one of the records there, also American record.
Yes, the American record was broken in the process, even though I finished second in that competition by about 4 inches from a great guy from Switzerland, Lucas Christian. And one of the things I talk about in my presentations, I talk a lot of things in my presentation, but this one is we earn what we earn. And in this world and since in the United States of America, that we have this sense of entitlement sometimes that everybody should be getting a ribbon. But, you know, if I were to say that I was supposed to get the top spot and I deserve the top spot, am I saying about the person that actually earned the top spot? So we all earn what we earn, and we have an opportunity then to go back, see what we could have done better, what we could have improved upon, and what were our blind spots, and then push forward again with a different training program to try to earn the top spot instead of saying we just wanted it or coveted it.
Well, and yeah, I have to really commend you because from the injury that you have, a lot of people would look at that like this is the end. And instead of, you know, looking at how they can go ahead and continue in a different way, a lot of people would fold up and say, okay, well, I'm done. You know, my dreams haven't been realized. And I really commend you because you kind of take any kind of adversity and you just beat it on all levels.
Well, I think there are a lot of things that go into play with that. And yeah, I've overcome, but not so much the injury, because if I had the injury overcome, I would have my leg back. What I really overcame was my own negative stigma. Thinking about, you know, who am I now? Is my wife going to stick around? I have this one leg. Is my son, who's 5.5 years old at the time, is he going to still see me as his dad? How's society going to treat me? Do I still have a job in the United States Army? Are they going to fire me? Do I have to intern my service? My life is over. I'm not going to the Olympic Games anymore. So all those things I was thinking about, and I was wheeled outside, inaccessible playground, in a wheelchair. The doctor gave me some fresh air. My wife, Alice, who was an angel, just took me outside. And as I'm watching them play on the swing set, you know, I just broke down. I just lost it, started crying uncontrollably. And my wife, Alice, came running over to me and said, "What is going on?" And I began to articulate to her all of my fears. And it was at that point she said, "You know what? We're going to get through this together. This is just our new normal." And when she spoke those words to me, John Jr. jumps off the swing, comes running over to my lap, jumps in my lap, said, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, what's going on?" And he had just validated me as his father, and John Jr. had just created his new normal. And I think that's where I was able to launch off and know I had the family support, the faith, as well as the friendship, and that equaled my freedom. Anytime people are saying negativity and fear, it's because they do not understand the power of the opposite of inspiration. I believe inspiration lifts us up. Inspiration creates an atmosphere or is a catalyst to motivation. Motivation in turn causes actions. These actions lead us to results. The results re-inspire us or allow someone else that's watching the entire process to catch their vision, to have their hope in their lives. Their eyes are turned on. Fear is false evidence appearing real, and it preys on the most things of what we think are going to go wrong instead of looking at the opportunity of what is going to go right.
Well, and I know from what I know of you, John, that you are a leader that helps people to refocus and really look at life in a different way from many different directions. And as a very well-known keynote speaker, you help companies kind of overcome the stigma and adversities that they themselves hold as far as dealing with people who have had some type of injury.
Yes. And so I get a wonderful opportunity to go speak to companies, and, you know, right now a Fortune 200 company with an airlines next week, and to talk about these issues on what is stigma, what holds us back, why do we have these conscious and unconscious biases that play out every single day. And if we think that we have or not have them, I actually hold a mirror up to them to share with them what that bias might be. And it's sometimes it can be very uncomfortable because we don't want to deal with what we think is a conscious or unconscious bias. But once that unconscious bias becomes conscious, what do you do about it? With Syracuse University last week, with the students there at the School of Business and Management, Whitman School of Business and Management, you know, I held it up to a group of millennials, that this mirror, and I asked them to said, if you don't think that you have this cultural biases, think about, let's go to your Facebook page, look at the first 100 people that you follow, and then put them in the demographics that are on your page. how many black, how many white, how many Hispanic, how many Native Americans, how many true Indians or any other demographic, Asians, but how many other people with disabilities? How many that cut across social economic lines? How many that you would consider wealthy, that would be middle class, or that you could see as poor? And when we look at that on the aggregate, we begin to see, okay, I'm following all these people. This is really this unconscious bias becoming conscious for me. So that's what I help people to understand, and then build a pathway, if they so choose, if they so desire, to see how we can change it if it's not the bias that you thought that you actually had.
Well, I think any company would be lucky to have you come in and do a keynote speech for their employees, their leaders, and really give them a different perspective on, just how life is, because it really seems that people do kind of get stuck in their boxes and not really venture outside of that. And, a lot of times they can think, okay, someone who's had a disability fits in this box, when there really isn't a box for that.
There's no box. A person who is congenital, that's born with a physical disability or a visual impairment or any other type of disability, they're living with that all their life. That is normal for them. It's us who need to create a new normal to accept them and value them and appreciate them for who they are and the value they bring to the table. Not that they have to, if they're in a wheelchair, get up and walk because we think that's the normal. For them, in a wheelchair, moving around, they're going to move around a lot faster than we do. But will we get out of the way? Are we trying to help them across the street when they don't need the help? So we have to understand those consciousness and unconscious biases that we have.
Well, your wife is definitely an angel, and what a source of inspiration she is.
Totally.
You make sure you let her know that we just appreciate all the inspiration that because she really has inspired a new way for a lot of people, and also for you, having the courage to go out and talk about this, where a lot of people still are kind of not sure how they feel about it,
Yeah, and I do it, Marianne, very self-deprecating, so I don't shame people. Let's get back and create another new normal where we can actually value, appreciate each other, and hear other people's viewpoints.
I'm with you on that one. So I know our listeners can find you at your website, johnregister.com, where you're on all social media, and I highly encourage that they go ahead and connect with you on social media and be part of your community. But, we're definitely going to have you back on the show again, John. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today.
Love it, Marianne. Thank you. And if I could just put out, we are putting a global page together on Team Inspire 10 on Facebook. So just like that page at Team Inspire 10. You'll find us there, 10 for the 10 hurdles in barriers in a hurdle race, and Team Inspire, because we're all going to be a community pushing content that is always positive.
Oh, we're definitely going to be sharing that link for our listeners so they can connect with you and be part of that community too. Well, thank you so much, John. We appreciate having you here today.
Oh, thank you so much. Honored.
I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in today, and remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.